Welcome to Hotline TV. I'm Amy Walter.
And I'm John Mercurio. Well, Amy.
Yes, John.
Sarah Palin's been at it again, giving an interview over the weekend to the Washington Times' Ralph Z. Hollow. All right, what we found out during this very interesting interview, one of the many things, she's eager to campaign for Republicans, national Republicans, and some Democrats who share her values. All right, let's talk about that. That's interesting, I think, for a lot of reasons. Let's talk first about what you think that means in terms of a national strategy, and then I want to talk about some of these candidates you think that some of these candidates who you think might want Palin to campaign with them.
Very good questions,
First
John
of all,
right, first, I think this is a very smart move on Sarah Palin's part. First of all, to get out of Alaska, get out of all of the morass of the ethics investigation and how much money she's really spending and the back and forth there. Get out on the national trail, and now we actually have, a line by which to judge her, whatever that's called. I'm losing my. I had the word. We have a measure. We have a standard by which to measure her, right? Because a lot of these candidates who are thinking about running in 2012 or who want to have an influence on the debate for Republicans, they go and they write op-eds and they do all other sorts of things, but you can't put a tangible evidence of their impact.
Right.
In this case, Sarah Palin going on the trail with national candidates, you'll either be able to say, one, I've raised X amount of dollars for these certain candidates, or X amount of dollars for these certain causes.
Right.
I've gotten this debate started on this issue, so we now have and by the end of this year or next year, we will decide whether it's been effective or not, but at least there's some tangible evidence of her, whether or not she's going to be an influence.
Right. I think it's very smart for two basic reasons. The two big raps against her in 2008 were that she was untested and inexperienced, both in government but also on the campaign trail. She was a hit among the Republican base, but she really created a polarizing effect on the electorate as a whole by reaching out to conservative Democrats, even independents and not even necessarily conservative Democrats, just Democrats who share her values. She's trying to create a less partisan image, which I think is key to any sort of national future that she's actually going to have. And being on the road, being on the campaign trail, meeting with people, raising money, and expanding this network that she has, I think is key to any sort of comeback or revival or anything she wants for 2012, which I still think is a long way off. But I guess this is probably one of the better decisions she's made over the past couple of months.
Did you have that two, or was that one?
Well, she was untested on the campaign trail, and this gives her 2 years to do that before she has to launch a national campaign.
Okay.
And she's less polarizing because she's reaching out to Democrats.
Okay.
All right.
That's now very good. Sorry, I wasn't following the A and the
Hopefully,
people
they were.
All right, so let's think about which candidates right now would like to have Sarah Palin campaign with them. At this point, I do not see a lot of Democrats clamoring for her. For as much as she says she would like to be the that partisanship is overrated and she'd like to get beyond it, she's still incredibly polarizing.
She is. Unless you're a Democrat running a conservative district against a Republican challenger, which she's probably not likely to campaign with you.
Might.
But you're really looking at this point for more publicity. I think the most compelling, interesting question will be John McCain.
Yes.
And I think the answer is yes. Look, we saw on Meet the Press this weekend, he still embraces her as, at least officially, as much as he ever did during the campaign. And I'm sure, I would be very surprised if he didn't bring her onto the campaign.
Because remember, he has a primary challenge, not that it's significant, but he has a primary challenge from one of those Minutemen types.
Whose name just escaped me.
Totally escaped me as well, but I think that would be good. All right, what do you do if you are Marco Rubio in Florida? Don't you want her? Of course.
You want her to help you raise money against Charlie Crist. The real question, I think, becomes,
what does she do?
Will she do
Exactly.
that? Will she go against the establishment, the NRSC, and all of the sort of Republican heavyweights who are backing Crist to help Rubio?
But if she believes this is about issues,
right,
and in this case, maybe
there are some establishments. You've got South Carolina Senator Jim DeMint, who's endorsed at Rubio. So there are other sort of elected officials.
Right. What about Pat Toomey? What does he do?
As you just said quite wisely off camera, look, he is a conservative. He probably is ideologically aligned with her, but he's now running in a race with no Republican opponent in that primary. He needs not, at this point, to run to the right. He needs to run to the middle. In a state like Pennsylvania, he's going to have either Specter or Sistek as his opponent. So, does he need her to raise money? Probably a little bit, but can he afford to have her come into Pennsylvania, a state not that far away from New Jersey, where Chris Christie is running far away from her? probably not.
Okay, good point. Now, David Vitter, a guy who likes to spend a whole lot of time embracing any conservative issue or figure. I don't doubt she'll be down there for him.
I think that's probably an easy, quick one. And, and probably not a tough race overall for him unless Charlie Melanson proves to be competitive. What do you think in Utah about Senator Bob Bennett?
Right. Now, he's already brought Mitt Romney in for him.
Well,
And I think this would be, for a guy who has now, 3 or 4 conservative challengers looking at him, not a bad idea.
Not a bad idea. Unless he was worried about alienating the Romney camp, but probably not at this point.
I don't know.
Those conventions in Utah can be really funny, too. So, all right, we have so many other people she could campaign for. She knows the list. Hopefully, maybe one of these days we can get Sarah Palin on this show to campaign for us.
She's been talking to everybody else.
Right.
It's about time she comes talk to us. Call us. All right.
Unfortunately, that is all the time we have for Hotline TV today. So until next time, I'm John Mercurio.
And I'm Amy Walter.